collecting the stories of our lives, tips for recording oral histories and life stories. As I just mentioned a few moments ago, there really isn't a right way or a wrong way. It's just wrong not to do it. We so often hear the laments of individuals who say, I wish I would have. Oh, I was going to get around to talking with, and they pass on. Just this morning, I was notified about the passing of a good colleague and friend in the archival business. Had been Indiana State Archivist years ago, worked for the Supreme Court of Indiana, and is no longer with us. I wonder how many people say at John's passing, oh, I was going to ask him about, or I was going to talk to him about. So what can we do? Let's begin to take a look at some steps for collecting our family stories. First of all, let's own the fact that it's extremely important work, extremely important work. It's not something we can do in the by and by, and if we don't get it done, it won't matter. It will matter because our relatives, distant or near, direct or collateral, will have information about pieces of our family stories that we will want. We've heard the thing that, you lose a library, the library's lost when a person passes. Putting it off could really mean forever, because once the person is gone, there's no way to say, well, wait a minute, I want to do a do-over, okay? So let's be at it. Let's be at doing this extremely important work now. There are so very many ways of recording oral histories and life stories. Pick the one that's comfortable for you. I know for many that may be quite antithetical to your way of operating, like, oh no, I have to do it right. And again, I think for the third time, I'm going to say there is no right way. There's the way that works best for you and the person you're interviewing, right? We want to get the most information in the most comfortable way possible. So very many ways. Please resist the urge to let perfection get in the way of progress. I need to do the perfect life stories interview. I need to do the perfect oral history. Well, fact of the matter is, no, you don't, because you will create what you believe is perfection. And I tell you, the first half a dozen people that look at it will come with all kinds of tips, and you should have done this and you should have done that. Do it to collect the vital life stories and do it to your level of comfort. So I'm going to turn off my video now so that we can concentrate a little more clearly on the next several slides, okay? So let's move on. This is what we're going to cover this afternoon. We're going to talk about approach. We're going to talk about preparing to engage. We're going to talk about questions to ask and recording devices we might consider using. We're going to talk about how to make the date and enjoy the experience, and then how we follow up on that. Those are the 5 key components. There's a lot in each component. We can, as most things in life, make things as simple or as complicated as we want, but let's do it in a way that is intentional, right? Let's don't make things complicated for the sake of having them complicated. Let's don't make things complicated because we're following what the book says or what the expert says. You know who the expert is in interviewing your family, your classmates, your fraternal buds, your business partners. You, by default, you're the expert. So how can we leverage that? How can we do that? There is a continuum of approaches. I'm going to show you 2 probably extremes. Well, I shouldn't say probably. They are extremes, probably the widest extremes. There's one approach that I call the academic approach. Many of you may be amazed. Some of you may not be amazed. There are hundreds upon hundreds of books that have been well-researched and published on the right way to do an oral history interview. And again, I'm going to stand with what I said. There is no right way. There's just doing it. That's what's right. The academic approach has some waypoints. Most academically based processes require weeks, sometimes even months, researching the interviewee's life. almost creating a biography of the person's life so you know what the right questions are to ask. So you know what topics might be hot button topics and what topics maybe we want to avoid. Um, if that's your jam, if that's how you think it's best done, there's nothing wrong with that process. I think it's extremely stilted. I have observed many of these types of interviews, and no one seems comfortable, or often both parties, three parties, four parties in the interview don't feel really comfortable. It makes me just scratch my head a little bit. After you do a mini bio, then you do a rigorous compilation of the right questions. You draft some questions, you share them, you vet them, you redraft, you reshare, you revet. Again, most of us who have very full lives, we don't have a lot of bandwidth for that. And we can quickly see, hmm, I don't think there's a lot of ROI, a lot of return on investment for me. I'm just going to drop this whole thing. Oh my goodness. Well, we don't want to do that. We don't want to drop the whole thing. We want to find ways of making it exciting, engaging, and comfortable toward the end of getting a lot of good information. But again, this is the academic approach. And then a very formulaic approach to asking questions and verifying responses. So you ask a question, um, what was your service in the Korean War like? And usually the question is two or three part in an academic approach. Um, what did you find most challenging? And what did you find most uncomfortable? And someone will respond. And then the interviewer will kind of summarize the response and repeat it back to them to make sure they said the right thing and to perhaps um, ensure that the correct answer, the right answer was given, almost verifying what they're hearing. Again, I don't think that serves a free flowing interview that well. So, academic approach. Um, Probably much toward the other end of the spectrum is what I call the conversational approach. Many, I will tell you, don't embrace this wholly. Some embrace it partially. Some mix a little bit of the academic approach with a little bit of the conversational approach. Beautiful, beautiful, truly, whatever works for you. I really embrace the conversational approach because typically, not always, typically we have some relationship. If we're a librarian and we're interviewing a patron who's a firefighter or a patron who's a member of a military unit, usually there's some familiarity there. Usually there's a little bit of spirited recognition. I really like the conversational approach. This approach says discover some interesting touchstones in the person's life. Don't do a rigorous mini biographical compilation. Just discover some interesting touchstones. Hey, this is my uncle's niece. What kind of things am I interested in about her life? This is my business buddy from way back in the sorority, and we kind of went through our professional lives together. Some touchstones. So discover some interesting touchstones in a person's life and develop questions around those and around things that you might want to know deeper and further, or questions that complement the touchstones in your lives. So compile about a half a dozen questions in advance, not pages and pages and pages for fear you will run out of questions to ask. If we're listening, if we're truly listening, we won't run out of questions to ask. They that just won't be an issue for us. There won't be questions like 25 minutes at a time I don't have any questions. And then finally, listen with the expectation to be amazed. You'll hear me say this a couple times over the next several minutes. Oftentimes, in every aspect of our lives, we're listening to respond. We're listening to reply, not to understand. That kind of can kill a really good oral history or life stories interview. Practice yoga, practice a little meditation, whatever you need to put yourself in the space of truly listening listening to understand, listening to be amazed, I like to say. Don't listen to dream up the next best question. Don't listen to respond or think you have to react to everything. Think about it. In our lives, in our business, our workplaces, we're usually listening to see if we need to actively do something. When we're correcting our children, we listen to their excuses to come up with a reason why those excuses aren't valid or why we need to take a quarter of their allowance, or I guess these days, $20 of their allowance, why they may be grounded. All kinds of places, moments in our lives where much of our listening is done to help us formulate a response. That's not what we're doing here. We're listening to learn. We're listening to be amazed. Listening is probably the most underdeveloped and least appreciated skill, but oh my gosh, it can do so much for us as genealogists, as family historians. So, whatever approach we take, or some combination of academic and conversational, I'm sure if you go to the literature, Google it, you'll find all kinds of other variations on those approaches and everything in between. Pick an approach that works for you, and then let's commit to this. Let's have a conversation where we're as conversational as we can possibly be, where it doesn't look like we're really interviewing in the way of kind of uh, making someone uncomfortable. We're not interrogating anyone. We're having a conversation, right? So I love Celeste Headley's advice for communicating, listening, and interviewing. And we're going to review several of her points in just a couple of bullet points in the next slide or two, this slide and the next one. So the first thing she advises is pay attention, be in the moment. That counts for so much when you're interviewing someone. Don't be worried about the fender bender you got in on the way to the interview. You got to shove that out of your mind. Don't worry about you've had a horrible day at work, or don't worry about, gosh, I hope this interview gets over soon because I really got a great dinner with my spouse, with my plus one waiting for me. Don't worry about, this is my first interview and I'm really nervous. Don't push all of that out of your mind. Don't embrace any of that. Pay attention, be in the moment. I'm so glad to be here with my nephew. I'm so glad to be here with my very old, holding on to her shreds of memory. And I'm so excited just to be here with her and look in her eyes, tell her I love her, and ask her some questions that might make her feel good about remembering. Be in the moment. Can't stress that enough. The best interviews are when you can sense the synergy, the rapport, the respect that comes from being in the moment. Don't pontificate. We know in our workaday lives, our family lives, our everyday lives, no one really loves a pontificator. So you ask someone about their work experience and they say, it was really drudgery. I worked on the assembly line, but I really couldn't pass up the benefits of the pay. That was what was most important to me. Well, Bob, I felt the same way about my job, but you know, I tried to put myself in the right frame of mind, and I tried to get up and be positive every day. And maybe you should have tried that. Maybe you can still try that. I have seen way more than I ever wanted to interviews that become not interviewing the person who thought he or she was going to be interviewed, but the interviewer pontificating and basically interviewing him or herself. If that's what you want to do, get a free Zoom license and just talk to yourself for the free 40 minutes that you can talk to yourself. Do we want to be in a conversation or not? Don't pontificate. Use open-ended questions. We say this a lot, but we stumble on this. So it's just one thing to plant in your mind. Open-ended questions are are the best. Because if we don't, a lot of times people will give you just that answer. So did you like high school? No. Did you like your first job? Yes. Ask open-ended questions, or you will get a very choppy, uninteresting, and uninformative interview. The last bullet point on this slide, oh my goodness, I have seen this so many times. Don't equate your experience with her experience or his experience. It's never the same. And it's not about you. It's about the person you're interviewing. I can't tell you how many times when someone in an interview talks about a death experience, the interviewer feels compelled to share his or her most recent death experience and how hard it was for them, and trying to establish some collegiality and some mutuality between him or herself and the interviewee. It's never the same. And when you go back into the category of pontificating, it gets even worse. This year has been a challenging year for me, and for many, many reasons. And yet, here I get to spend an afternoon with you, and I'm excited about spending the precious few moments that we have. So, I lost a brother in law unexpectedly earlier this year. And when people ask me about it and I want to tell them about it, thinking they really want to know, more than 50%, I would say more than 75% of the people tell me something to make me feel better, not what I asked for, and tell me, oh, I understand just how you feel. That is impossible. None of us can understand how any other one of us feel with a death experience, with a near death experience, with a true love experience, with so many things in our life. Don't equate your experience with theirs. It's really pointless. It contributes nothing to the life story, nothing to the interview. And yet it happens all the time. Yeah, I know what you mean there, Jimbo. I hated boot camp as well. Man, I remember one drill sergeant, and it's like, there we are, down another spider hole, and we're not talking to the interviewee about what he remembers about how he feels. More about having a conversation. Try not to repeat yourself. That lets the interviewee know, if you repeat yourself, that you're really not paying attention. And then she or he might say, I think I might disengage a little bit too, because, I'm looking forward to that golf game tomorrow, or I want to get in a couple more rounds of golf before the weather really turns bad. We're inviting people not to take us as interviewers seriously. Celeste tells us in one of her major points, stay out of the weeds. Most people don't care about the details, particularly if they're your details. They will provide you with details that are important to them. So if you want to ask a question about how did you most successfully weather the pandemic, that's a decent question. Hey, Joan, how did you successfully weather the pandemic? But adding 5, 10, 20 sentences onto that. Hey, Joan, how did you successfully weather the pandemic? It was really rough for me. I tried all kinds of things. I read more than I wanted to, but I really didn't get into it. And, so I listened to a lot of audiobooks and Freegal and Hoopla and Libby. And, I just couldn't really get into that. I wanted to hold the book in my, we're spinning off toward Pluto. And here's the poor interviewee waiting for A, an opportunity to answer the question you tried to ask, or B, waiting for the first possible opportunity to terminate the interview. I got a headache. I don't think I'm feeling so well. Can we do this another time? Talked about this already. Listen. Listen to understand, not to reply. Listen, one of the most underdeveloped skills in 21st century America. Be brief. That's hard for me, and I know it must be hard for many of us. Be brief. It's not a word contest. Who can get to 5,000 words the fastest? Be brief. And again, it's not about you. It's about the person you're interviewing. Really important. Questions to ask. We could spend a half an hour just on questions to ask. In your handout, I have these two links. StoryCorps has been interviewing people for 17 years. They have a great list of questions, well organized. Family Tree Maker has great tips and questions as well. Use pictures to develop questions to ask, and ask questions based around your interests that you think is shared by the interviewee. StoryCorps, as I just mentioned, Family Tree Magazine. Recording devices. Try to find a recording device that you're comfortable with. You want two things to happen. You want it to be easy to operate, even if it's complicated. You want to master that before the interview. easy to operate, and you want it to become invisible. An interview killer is when the interviewer is fiddling persistently, consistently with the recording device and making faces and grimacing and pressing this button and pressing that button. It's very disconcerting to the person being interviewed. Again, it tells them your attention is not on them, your attention is on the device. That's a conversation killer. There are a number of different recorders. We're going to take a quick look at 4, and we'll do this on the next slide. So the first one on the left is a Roland. It looks really complicated. I like this one because it's bi-directional. You can set it down in the middle of a coffee table, in the middle of an end table, what we used to call TV tables, TV trays. And it picks up sound both ways. You can set it down and forget it. Yes, it takes a few minutes to figure out how it works. That's why YouTube's around. The OM system recorder and the Olympus recorder, same thing, really easy, straightforward, not as robust as the Roland, but they work really, really well. So take advantage of them, use them. Search YouTube for really good videos. Seriously, meaningful instruction on just about everything is on YouTube. And then way over on the right is a smart device. And most everyone has a smart device these days. You know, there are more smart devices on planet Earth than there are people on planet Earth. Pretty amazing, huh? So use your smart device. Let's take a quick look at smart devices. You already have a camera that records video and sound on your smart device, but please don't necessarily default to video because you don't want that to become an inhibitor. You have video, but don't let it be an inhibitor. A lot of people will talk if they don't have to worry about how they look and have people like staring at them. I know a lot of people who don't mind a video interview. Beautiful. Use that. It's wonderful, but don't let video impede you from getting the interview. Your iPhone, voice memo app, Android, the recorder app, and there's all kinds of other apps that you can download to your smart device. Use one, get familiar with it, and enjoy having those moments that you're actually listening to the person that you're interviewing. Where to have the conversation, really important, and this is pretty basic. I would say really basic. You want to have it where the interviewee is most comfortable, and oftentimes that's in a familiar place. High percentage of the time, it's in the person's home. A small percentage of the time, it's where they have dined for many years, a little diner. It's at maybe a church hall where they've gathered for years and years to celebrate births and to celebrate weddings and to remember people who have passed. So find out where the interviewee is most comfortable. If they say, gee, I don't know, offer some solutions and have them again decide. You want to have it a place, the interview take place where the temperature and light can be easily adjusted. Some people are really sensitive to light, and no one likes the same room temperature. Figure out a place where you can control how hot or cold it is and how bright or not it is in the room. You want it to be in a place where one can bring some memory triggers, some photographs, and especially food. Most of you may have heard this or read this, but it's true. It's scientific. It's true. Our nose, our sense of smell, our olfactory nerve is the strongest memory trigger. So the smell of coffee, the smell of a Thanksgiving dinner table, maybe that's the best place to interview someone. After Thanksgiving dinner, after holiday dinner, after Sunday brunch, a place that they're familiar with, that they're comfortable, and that you have their olfactory nerve being engaged to help you find stories. You want it to be in a place where the potential for unwanted distractions is minimal. If it's a high traffic area, you're going to get interrupted. If it's the sun porch, well, then of course your neighbor's going to do the lawn at the time you're out on the sun porch during the summer and fall months. So be intentional, be aware of your surroundings. Make sure the seats are comfortable with the ability to easily use a recording device. And by easily use, I mean turn it on, set it down, and forget it. Set it and forget it, as that commercial goes, right? So really, really consequential. As we're winding through our 30 minutes together, how do we follow up? First and foremost, send a thank you. Use any communication method you want to. It's so important, though, to say thank you. That will help you get another interview if you need one. It will perhaps, um, really make the person feel special about um, what's been going on. Well, I'm going to go back to this point for just a second. I know it's really not in vogue right now, but because it's not in vogue, I would encourage you to do it. Send a handwritten note through the postal mail. So few people get pieces of mail that when they get it, they're so overwhelmed. It's a surprise. It's like, wow, you took time out of your day to get this card, this note, and to address it and put a stamp on it and send it to me. People really get geeked about receiving mail. Review the recording for clarity and completeness. Devices are not infallible. They do glitch, bleep out, etc. Back up your recording on a number of storage devices. Share those recordings. Consider transcribing those. And there's all kinds of programs that can help you transcribe a digital recording, some more automated than others, and share it again. So follow up, I think, is really important. So I hope the moments that we've shared together entice you, encourage you to have conversations of a lifetime. We sometimes spend so much time, so many hours with documents and in front of a computer screen. It's so refreshing sometimes to have an opportunity to talk to someone who can fill in a piece of our life story or our family's life story. It completes our research and it gives us tips for further research and further exploration. I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to take a quick look at the Q&A. We have some hellos in the Q&A. Will this recording be posted on the YouTube channel? Well, I don't know. We have to talk to the presenter. I think I did talk to the presenter and he said yes. Yes. So we will place the handout link. Let's just go ahead and place that link in the Q&A. Well, it's not pasting here for me. So let me go into the chat. I will go into the chat and I will paste it here in the chat where the link is on the webpage. But you can always go to genealogycenter.org and go to the programs at the bottom, click on the program you're interested, and the handout will be linked there. It's been a fast half hour. I hope that I've given you at least a thing or two to ponder. We as human beings, we love to talk. We know how precious and how important family is to us. If we can just take Celeste Headley's tips about how to be better communicators, how to have better conversations, if we can be prepared ahead of time, make sure we know our device, we know how our device works. Don't be unpacking your device and turning it on for the first time when you're moments before a recording. Really eyeball to eyeball the person. Feel and exude that you're interested in what they have to say and be interested in what they have to say. Be in the moment. I think you will have great conversations. You'll complete your life stories with others' memories and information. And oh my goodness, the awesome conversations you'll have and the wonderful fabric you will weave into your family stories. I think we're going to wrap it up for today. Tomorrow evening, 6:30 is our regular Thursday evening program. Hope to see all of you there. Thanks so much again for enjoying a few moments this afternoon with us here in the Genealogy Center. Best wishes for great conversations.